What's going on, dudes and dudettes? So yes, the other day, some pretty big future recruiting news for USC football. Their 2025 five-star or four-star safety commit, Anquon Fegans, did decommit from the class. Said he just wanted to be able to take visits, without thinking, looking behind his back if USC was worried or not worried about it. Pretty much about him going on other official visits. And like I said, with all these guys in the future that are committing to USC, I just hope they take their time and don't commit right away, just because they end up changing their mind and kind of giving us false hope as us USC Trojan fans when we follow recruiting. But yeah, either way, I'm pretty sure USC still has a chance with him, especially since if his brother is still on the roster, which he is, Anquon Fegans, who is a cornerback at USC right now. So either way, I think they still have a chance in the future. It's not that big of a loss because it is in the future. You just don't know how he's going to turn out officially or not. He is still a high school player, but just have to wait and see how that recruitment ends up going. And then I did write this down in the last video, but for some reason I forgot to talk about it. But yes, pretty much last week, Mel Kiper Jr., who's the NFL draft expert for ESPN, said that last week Caleb Williams is his number one overall prospect going into the 2024 NFL draft, which isn't surprising. Obviously, you're going to have a lot of these quarterbacks up there, especially if they are that talented. Especially when it comes to the NFL draft, the quarterbacks always seem to be pushed up to the top as far as the best overall prospects, even when it comes to high school recruiting and all that stuff, it's usually like an offensive lineman or some type of spectacular defensive player who is the number one player overall in the country in that class. But it's usually the quarterbacks who become more important and then they're put up there. Even the quarterback from North Carolina, Drake May, I think he's like top 4 or 5 in that list as well. But either way, Caleb obviously deserves it. I think I even saw like 2 Penn State players in the top 10, one offensive line and I think one of the outside linebackers. So maybe they're going to be a better team this year, especially with some type of talent on both sides of the team. You never know, but overall, just have to wait and see what happens. But yes, I still believe as long as he's healthy and ready to go and officially going into next year's draft, Caleb Williams should be the number one overall prospect and the number one overall pick in that draft. And then I think USC did put out some type of post on X that I believe they have 22 pro Hall of Famers, whether it's the basketball Hall of Fame, baseball, and football combined all together. And I believe they said that that's the most in any of the schools, not only their entire school, but in all the country as well, the most Hall of Famers from one school. So that's pretty cool, especially the Pro Football Hall of Fame, because even the basketball counts the women's side as well. So I'm sure Lisa Leslie is in there for the women's basketball, even Cheryl Miller as well, who's an ex-USC women's basketball player. So yeah, overall, it's obvious where you want to go to be dominant in your field, especially as a sports athlete. And yes, definitely come down to SoCal and USC. Fight on, baby. Xavier Jordan, who is a 2024 USC wide receiver commit, I pretty much have been talking about him because they like to talk about him a lot, especially on wearesc.com, where the other videos I have talked about him rising up in his ranking, where he was like just outside the top 100. Now he's like top 70 overall player in the country with how much success he's been having as of late. But even his NIL evaluation, where it comes to how much money he could be making once he gets into college, has already jumped up too. I believe just last month it was around like $130,000, but now it already jumped up to $144,000. So is that the USC connection and being involved in, if you're that good of a player, you'll be able to make that certain amount of money while at USC? Yes, but it also goes with his talent and how good he's doing in the high school level as well in his senior year. So as long as you show out right before, USC will be able to get you close to your evaluation, because this is an evaluation. It's not 100% set that he will make this amount of money. He could make less, he could make more, but it just depends how good you are and how marketable you are, of course. But either way, it's still a positive thing to show future recruits coming into USC. And then Zachariah Branch, the crazy star freshman after his first game last week already signed a multi-year deal with the Panini Card Company. So he's already featured on like a split shot of him and Caleb Williams on a card. I forget if Caleb is already part of it. He must be getting some money for it. But yeah, they signed a multi-year deal already. And that was just him after having one great game. He even got tweeted or X back or whatever you call it by Odell Beckham Jr. as well. A nice shout out. So yeah, a lot of good positive things happening on and off the field for these USC players, especially the football side. And then House of Victory did have a couple more signings to USC athletes. They did sign the cornerback Damani Jackson, which is pretty cool. The only problem I ever have with him, yeah, he did give up a touchdown. It was just because he was put out of position by the defensive coordinator. But I believe he is very talented as a player. I always thought when he was labeled a cornerback that it was a bit much because he just always, to me, looked like either a free safety or a linebacker. So I always thought he would be able to switch positions in college, but for some reason he wants to still stick with that cornerback position. I don't mind a tall cornerback, but if you're taller, it's more, I think you're more productive when you're a bit lengthier, so not as built up, but he's pretty stout and built and wide, so I would almost prefer him to see a position switch. But either way, he's still a very talented dude, and it's been pretty rough for him to stay healthy his first couple years, but luckily he is healthy right now, so that's all we can hope for, is to see what he can do in a full healthy season for the USC Trojans. And they also signed a beach volleyball player, a woman in Megan Kraft, and obviously with the women, especially the women's beach volleyball team, has had a lot of success. They've had a couple of straight national championships past couple of years, and she's even done pretty well in the under 19 even before coming to USC. So she is obviously, I think she's even on the one of the Olympic teams as well. So that's pretty cool stat for her. So either way, like I said, a lot of positive things going for these USC athletes down here in SoCal. USC did make an offer to 2025 edge player Kobe Saki-Pra. Hopefully I'm saying that correct. And according to him, it was a little bit of a surprise. I don't know if he's saying that just because of the certain teams that were recruiting him, he did not expect it. But hopefully this does end up being like an Elijah Hughes, who recently just played for USC. He was incoming freshman out of the state of Virginia. He's a very low-ranked 3-star player. Not a lot of people looked at him, but some people did, and they kind of noticed he was a gem out there, even though he wasn't ranked very high. And luckily USC stole him, and he already played a lot of reps in his first game too as a true freshman on the defensive side. So, you know, as long as you can find these guys, it doesn't matter what rank they are, 3, 4, 5 star, as long as you can find them and develop them as well, you should be good going into your future as a football program. So definitely looking forward to see we're able to get this Kobe or Kabi. I don't know how you say it correctly. They haven't heard it said it out loud, but hopefully maybe we have a chance at getting him. And then the recent transfer from Arizona, the cornerback Christian Roland Wallace. Recently, he did play this last week, but for some reason the NCAA is saying he can't play in the first half of this Saturday's game, tomorrow's game against Nevada, because of a fight that happened in the rivalry game between Arizona and ASU last year. And I think like 3 or 4 other players from that game on both sides are being held out of the first half of their games as well, that are still in college. But it's kind of weird how the NCAA didn't count last week 0, and it's USC's first game as a true game, and now they're counting this game, week 1, and now they're finally suspending them. So it is kind of weird. He didn't really get that much playing time either, but he did look pretty good last week when he did get some. So hopefully he will play most of the second half, and I'm pretty sure it will be out of it as far as scoring-wise. USC should be up by quite a bit by then, but to get him some run, be able to see what he still has and get some, at least some playing time late in the game should be good for him going forward into Stanford next week. 5-star high school basketball player Patrick Ngangba, hopefully I'm saying that correct, recently did set up an official visit to Duke. I believe he's a 5-star player. I forget if he's a power forward or center, one of those. He does look like a big guy. But he's coming October 20th, I believe, which I believe, if I can remember, is the countdown, the craziness that Duke usually throws late night and their inner squad play, the blue and white team and all that stuff, and introduce the players and all that stuff. And I think VJ Edgecombe, the other 5-star shooting guard, will be there on that time as well, so they'll be able to visit together. It looks like he set up other top visits like to Kansas and Michigan State, so this guy is really being looked at by a lot of the top programs out there, so hopefully Duke does have a chance to get him. But they usually don't bring in guys for official visits. They don't believe they have a shot at getting them, so we will see. And then the Chargers rookie linebacker Deion Henley, according to PFF, was the top-rated rookie linebacker in preseason with like an 80-point-something overall score or something like that. So, like I said, PFF shows good and bad. It's not like Henley played as much as probably you would have liked to be able to believe this score, but less playing time does probably help out these analytics or whatever, because they're only given a certain amount of plays to look at, and not compared to like 50 plays to 100 plays, your percentage could be up or down a big margin. So either way, it is nice to see that they did get one of the top linebackers according to the analytics in the 3rd round in the draft, but we'll see how he's going. I believe he is dealing, with an injury, and I think that's why they signed some other guys at that position as of late to maybe fill out his spot as a backup role, but we'll just have to wait and see. And the Chargers did fill out pretty much the rest of their practice squad with a couple of veterans, a couple of nice signings. They did sign a wide receiver / kick returner, and Alex Erickson, who is a pretty good player. Recently was with the Jets, I believe, and like Cincinnati as well. Safety Dean Marlowe, who was with the Buffalo Bills, and tight end Nick Van Nett, who was, I think, with like Seattle and the New York Giants, something like that. So a couple of these names I've heard quite a bit the past at least handful of years, so it's kind of surprising that they weren't able to get roster spots, but be able to sign them to a practice squad, which is pretty different for the Chargers team as of late, because they usually sign a lot of unknown or young and up-and-coming players that they're taking a chance on their practice squad, compared to actually signing veterans, which I think will help push the other guys who are on the roster as of right now. And if they can't cut it, then they'll just bring up those guys and pretty much switch them out, basically. So yeah, either way, I think it's a win-win for the Chargers organization. And yeah, definitely looking forward to the season starting next week. So apparently the other day, Giannis Antetokounmpo was interviewed and pretty much said that he would love to be with the Milwaukee Bucks team for the rest of his career, but if he kind of sees that they're just going into a rebuild mode and not really pushing to win championships, which is what he's trying to do every single year, then he will most likely be looking to go somewhere else, which is pretty much why he hasn't signed his extension. He could sign a pretty big extension this summer, but apparently it looks like he's going to wait. I think he has this season and the next season with Milwaukee if he doesn't end up signing an extension, and then he will be a free agent in that future summer. And of course, teams like the Lakers and the Knicks have come up as far as destinations for him. I can kind of see it just because they're obviously the big markets. I wouldn't be surprised if Miami would try to do it as well. Kind of seems like the way he plays will fit that culture too. I just hope it doesn't happen. Maybe trying to be paired up with Luka Doncic down there in Dallas as well. But it would be pretty awesome and pretty crazy if he could team him up with like Anthony Davis instead of having to trade him for Anthony Davis, stuff like that, and pairing him with LeBron, because LeBron kind of seems content in retiring within the next year or two once his contract does end up, stopping kind of around that time when Giannis becomes a free agent. So maybe you kind of replace LeBron with Giannis, and you will be able to pay him because you have the money once LeBron is off the books, essentially, that year. And if LeBron wants to sign a veteran deal or whatever to come back to be able to play one season with the duo of Giannis and AD, that'll be great too. It would just be a lot cheaper. But yeah, it'll be pretty awesome to see defensively what the Lakers could be with those two on the same team. But yeah, I don't know. There could also be a scenario where if, say, next season they officially know next summer that he's not going to sign the extension and you want him that bad, you could make a deal of like involving D'Lo and Rui Hachimura, any of your first round picks that you have left, and maybe a couple other guys. You might have to throw in Austin Reeves, which kind of sucks, but maybe you can get away with throwing like a Jared Vanderbilt in there. You never know, but I don't know. It could be pretty interesting, could be crazy. And I think even there was a story that Giannis is investing in a Los Angeles golf club, so that is, spilling more fire into this, that it's growing that he could be on his way to LA. Obviously, a lot of places and businesses start on the East and West Coast, so if it was the same thing in New York, if that golf club was in New York, it would have been the same thing, always going to the Knicks or Brooklyn or whatever. So either way, not looking that much into that, but either way, like I said, it could be interesting. It wouldn't be the first time that a very talented top, 10, 15 overall player in NBA history went from Milwaukee to LA. Just looking at you, Lou Alcindor, Kareem. But yeah, it's happened before. Lakers usually try and swing and get their big-time free agent out there, a big-time star. They obviously got Shaq before. They pretty much traded for Kobe as well in that draft. They did get Dwight Howard, Steve Nash, Pau Gasol. So they've obviously tried and swung and got their people. So this would be big time get, especially because by that time he should still be under 30. So you still have at least a good 3 to 5 year run with him, especially the way he keeps up with his body. So either way, looking forward to see what happens in this crazy NBA future. So yes, thanks for watching, people. Like and subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what y'all think. USC does play tomorrow against Nevada, so I'm pretty sure we'll be talking about that. I might put up another quick short tomorrow night or tomorrow whenever the game ends to be able to update you all on this YouTube space of what happened. And yeah, it does suck because Disney looks like they're kind of being a little bit of a-holes and taking off all of their channels, especially all their sports channels that I go through with Spectrum. And I wasn't able, and literally right when the game started, the Florida and Utah game yesterday, I was not able to watch it because it was all of a sudden blacked out, and a couple other games as well. And luckily, there's a lot of other games on that were still available to watch. But yeah, I guess they're going through a dispute and they want more money for the type of content they're showing, and I guess Spectrum doesn't want to do that because they want to still be able to offer good deals to us customers. And yeah, I had a big old thing, talked about it even with the customer service of Spectrum, and was able to pretty much get on a list of, if this does end up going on past a certain amount of time and my bill comes around, then I will be credited at some point if I do end up having to pay for a channel that I don't have, which is pretty much the only reason why I do have the Spectrum cable aspect. I still get them for their Wi-Fi and internet. But yeah, I guess this has happened before with Disney, with like YouTube TV a couple years ago, and even like Dish Network and Sling. They pretty much worked out their differences within a couple of days, and the channels were back on right away. So hoping that is going to happen as well, but you just never know. Yes, like I said, thanks for watching. Great day. Bye.